There we have him. Chad, how are you, sir?
Evan, how are you? Long time, buddy.
It's been a long time. Um, yeah, it's good. I was only thinking this earlier. We actually never met in person, but which I was surprised because I feel like I kind of know you. You're one of the kind of few people on socials that I kind of feel like I know personally.
We've been messaging here and there and lending each other support over the years, and like that as well. I kind of feel like I know you as well without knowing you.
Yeah,
If I seen you having a pint, I'd pop over and join you without a bother. You know?
absolutely. Um, let me start with this. I was looking through your social media there, and one day you're putting up kind of you're with your family on a quad bike through Kerry, and then the next you're in the restaurant, and then the next day you're in the horse box doing your thing there. You seem to be very busy kind of a guy. How is that
That
true? Are you just always
I,
go or
I, 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 I think that's social media for you. Um, do you know what? I'm very, very, very lucky, like extremely lucky. I work in a great job that we have a full team in the kitchen. We have a brigade of about 15 chefs, 8 kitchen porters. The majority have stayed with me for years. Nelly, my head chef, fantastic chef and great friend. He's been with me 13 years. He left once, came back, left again, came back. We have a lot of the chefs are in there for 10 plus years working with me. So it leaves me to be able to work as an executive. I hate that bloody name. As an executive chef, to do 40 to 45 hours a week, which gives me a lot of time as a chef. And I think it's important. It makes the job um, interesting and that I want to go in, that I have valued time with my family. And with the horse box as well, I'm in a lucky position that I was on Daft. I was on Daft. I bought a house on Daft about 3 years ago, and it was the cheapest house in Kerry, and it was in the middle of nowhere. And I've invested into that, and I don't have a lot of overhead, so I can pick and choose what I do with the donkey when I want. And if I want to do something, I'll do it. If I don't, I don't have to. And it's a great position to be in, to not to be worrying.
yeah.
So I'm very, very thankful.
Yeah, very good. What's your as someone who's kind of you're active on social media, what's your kind of take on that? I suppose about to ask kind of what's the good part and bad side or your favorite and least favorite things social media? What would that be?
Um, I'm up and down on social media. I was off it there for about 3 months last year. I was just sick of it, and like that. It's great that there's so much learnings on social media, and ideas, and you 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 can garner a lot from social media, but it also takes away from you, and it takes away individuality as well. I suppose like I'd be looking at stuff a lot, and I go, oh, I'll take a little bit of this, and I'd twist it. There's no such thing as an original idea, I suppose.
Yeah,
And I think social media is great for learning. But there's also a lot of posing on it, and I have to hand it to you, Evan. There's a lot of posts and vloggers, if you will, and you are a little bit of a vlogger. I love what you're doing lately. You're keeping it very real, and there's no bullshit about you.
yeah,
And and that's the content that I like, because I find on social media, and to me, I think with Instagram and doing videos of food, while I'm getting food out there, I don't think I'm educating people enough. And I think I'm actually just going to go onto YouTube and do videos that I'm proud of, that I can show people the nuts and bolts and the ugly side of things. But I think if it's on Instagram or you're putting it on Twitter, I don't have TikTok. I actually did join TikTok, and within about 30 minutes, I got a message off my daughter to tell me to get off because I'm an old man. So that's the reason why I don't have a TikTok. But yeah, I think I'm going to go down YouTube, because I also think that sometimes I could be sharing too much, and people
yeah,
would be in my head and they'd be like, "Going, this lad's at it again." Whereas I think if I do a YouTube video, and people want to see it, they can click into it. But I think that's the route I'm going to go down. A little bit more educational, with some ideas. But yeah, there's good and bad points for social media. Sorry, Evan, I'm
No, you're
rattling
good.
on there as per
No, no,
usual.
no, it's interesting. You know, when so a lot of your obviously you do lots of different stuff, but a lot of your stuff on social is kind of like about the kind of like how would you say it's kind of like cheaper cuts and kind of like um maybe like I know during COVID it was a lot of stuff like cooking at home, using grains and pulses and stuff, and eating a bit cheaper. And now maybe you do also do a lot of stuff in the restaurant, which I find really
Man,
interesting, like
man,
certain meats and stuff.
I'm not going to lie to you. The a la carte menu, okay, it's more expensive.
Yeah,
And working in a hotel, this is a true reflection of working in a hotel. People aren't necessarily coming for your food. It's the guests in the hotel, and you have to have, there's a steak on, there's a chicken on, and everything's kind of regimented because Mary and Dan in room 32 and Jimmy and John in room 31, they're coming for normality and they just want to be fed and they don't want anything that's a little bit out there. And that's just the way hotels are. You have to hit all the points and you have to make everybody happy as much as you can, as opposed from cooking from your own heart.
yeah.
And the Galoot menu, which is the marketing team inside called it Galoot menu, which is I had my reservations, but it's
Hmm.
absolute. It's fantastic. It's a menu that's $29.50, and I swear to God, since we put that on in the last 3 to 4 weeks, there's been 2 weeks where we were very quiet. This week now we're busier. Next week we're double booked on the Friday and Saturday, which is phenomenal because about a week ago I posted that we did only two on a Saturday. But
Mm.
I have more love for that menu than I do for the a la carte, which the owners be like, "What are you doing? What? Don't say that out loud."
Yeah,
But I do because when when you're finding ingredients and you're challenging yourself to cook with your heart, and you know what, the fact that it is cheaper, you can sort of say to yourself, it's kind of stuff that I would have done in the horse box. That you can sort of say, "Look, I'm just doing what I'm doing, and I love it." That you can just experiment, you can cook banging flavors. You don't need to worry about you don't need to worry about being as stringent as you would on an a la carte
yeah,
menu. You can just cook with your heart and go with the flow and cook just, you know what? It's how I cook the best, and
yeah.
I love it. And it's also great for the team because we're getting in different cuts. Like we've lamb neck arepas on there at the moment. We're getting the lamb necks in whole, roasting them, making a stock from that, making the arepas, different ingredients that you wouldn't necessarily see on a
Yeah,
traditional, let's say, hotel menu.
yeah.
But no, loving it. Although I would say heart is a tough sell. I got 5 kg. No, oh, jeez, I got about 7 kg of heart in last
Yeah,
week, and probably sold. No, not probably. Only sold two. But it was a lovely dish.
yeah.
But you know what? Staff loved it. We mixed it in with a beef pie for staff food, and nobody knew. And I
Nobody
told
knew.
them after, and they're like, "Oh my God, that was lovely." And then I said heart, and they were like, "What?"
So from like obviously from a chef's point of view, you have to be more creative and stuff like that. When you're using the lesser ingredients, it's kind of easy enough to I don't know, cook with a nice spoon of bit of caviar on some food and stuff, and it's gonna be nice. But is there an element of like I don't know where am I going with this, but like is it purely just when you like doing those types of like you seem to be very
Man,
interested in like cooking kind of cheap and like getting people to kind of you care about kind of the costs of stuff, is that something from I don't know from your background or is it just kind of like during COVID you were always like getting people to kind of advise people how to eat cheaper and you're always going on about kind of it's hard out there and stuff out there.
yeah. Well, during COVID, like I was on my bollocks. Like
Mm.
that's that's the truth of it. And I think even growing up, like Jesus Christ, and I'm sure a lot of kids that would have been my age growing up, you'd open the fridge and there was butter and jam in there, but no bread. You were hungry. You had a hunger in you. You had a hunger in you a lot, and I think that's always stood with me. That if you can give value and give honesty in your cooking, like that shit goes through my veins. I love it, and the
Yeah.
cheaper ingredients, and just because they're cheaper doesn't mean that they're not as
Lesser.
good. It's like we have a beef chain with XO sauce on tonight as well, which is a really interesting dish. It's a chain from the strip, which usually for a roast they're like the meat that we get in. It's between, depending on the size, it's between, I'd say thereabouts 24 to 30 days. Again, depending on the size.
Yeah.
So when it comes into us, that meat's going to last 3 weeks easily. Obviously, we go through it. But we had a roast beef. We stuck on 3 strips there last week for the roast of the day on Sunday. Went through them, but I kept the chain, trimmed all the chain, marinated a little bit of the bicarbs out of the way they do in the Chinese restaurants to break down any sinew. Left it for 2 days, put it on today, or put it on last night. Absolutely stunning. And it's the same as strip, but it's just doing the
Yeah.
work. And it might be a bit harder, but when you're able to do stuff like that, like I don't know, there's joy in that cooking, and that's the shit that's the stuff that I love. Like that's in me as a chef.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry,
I'll go.
I do know I rattle on, so I
No.
I
It's
apologize.
I could chat to you all day, Chad. I'll ask you very another question on the other end of the spectrum. As someone that's obviously in the industry, I've spoke about this. You spoke a lot about this, and it's all. If you know anyone that follows stuff, it's tough out there with the VAT and the food costs and staff costs and labor and all the rest of it. And you see restaurants closing all the time. I won't go through the full list, but every single day there's another restaurant closing. What's your take on that as someone that knows exactly what it's like to run their own business and also working in the industry?
Do you know what? I'm shocked to see McDonald's, and this, McDonald's is a great business model, and it's nothing about the franchisees, but when they've just secured a contract for 200 McDonald's to open in Ireland, that's going to take. Them boys aren't doing that willy nilly. That's just showing you where the restaurant industry is going. People don't have a lot of coin in their pocket anymore, and I suppose, like me, I have a family. We had a staycation, and this is the reason why I actually started the Galoot menu. We stayed. Oh, we traveled a bit around the country, but we ate out for lunch, we ate out for dinner, and on the 4th day, it was like, Jesus Christ, I'm kind of smashed here. Everything's costing so much, and the food wasn't great.
Yeah.
And that was the idea behind that. That was the idea about the Galoot menu, to just give something of value. But I think value is the most important, and I really think restaurants in general, unfortunately, and I hate saying this, they're going to have to invest in AI. Like if you want to survive in this industry, it's the price. Like, the cheapest thing to put on the plate is food.
Yeah.
It's the rates, it's the rent, it's the insurance, it's an average chef that could have a year and a half experience, 15, 16 euro an hour. Like, they're not coming in just for service times for those 3 hours. That's an 8 working day. I don't know. I'm worried for the industry, and I'm worried for tourism in Ireland as a whole. People used to come over for the diddly eye and a bit of the Irish crack, and this is no reflection on this is just society in general. I think Ireland is losing its identity a little bit as land of the Lucky Charms, or whatever paddy rackery that you want. I think there's a little bit of culture being diluted in Ireland at the moment, so I think that will affect tourism, and that's just an honest reflection of what I would see if I was an American coming over to Ireland and I wanted to go down to Kerry, listen to a bit of Dilly. A lot of that's going, and I think that'll be detrimental to tourism over here, to be real. And I think the restaurant industry, I think a lot of operators need to get a lot more savvy. Hospitality and welcomes are real, but I think AI is going to take a huge chunk
what do
of that.
you
Well,
mean by that? So, are you on about robotic servers or what?
everything from Q code menus to
Okay, yeah.
screens
Yeah, yeah,
it's so expensive that's possibly one of the an initial investment which I don't scan anything.
yeah,
Even if I have milk, I go to checkout just because I know it's the future,
yeah,
but I want to prolong the future. But I really think the likes of McDonald's, all these places that are opening up huge places, or that are opening up their what is it, the 200
yeah,
places. Initial 24,000 jobs is what they say. That's going to be cut in half, I'd imagine,
yeah,
by year two, and again by year three, half of that again, because it's going to be AI, because it's cheaper to run, and people have to realize that, right? If that's the route to go, that's going to be it. It's people talk and speak with coin in their pocket, and
yeah,
if they can save coin, that's where they'll spend it.
yeah. Very interesting. No, it's when I seen that, I think maybe you shared it, or I saw that I write about McDonald's. I was like, it almost just went over people's heads in many ways. It didn't seem to get a huge amount of attention, but it just seemed like, yeah, it seemed like a
Man,
kick in the ass.
that's the writing on the wall,
Yeah,
and you know what? I hate what I'll say here or not, but bloody right. That there's huge shareholders in that, and there's huge shareholders in that have power in this country. And I guarantee you that 9% that we're at 13.5% tax at the moment, 2 or 3 years when those McDonald's are done and a lot of independents are gone, that tax rate's going to go down to 9% and probably lower because it's a necessity to eat out. Guaranteed.
yeah. Well, there's a few people there in the comments agreeing with you. They're saying that someone said that the local Centra deli operates like a Burger King. Let me finish up on this one, Chad. Off the whole food side, so maybe a different question, but I'd love to get your take on like just life advice for someone. Say someone young. I would really admire your kind of presence online and how you come across. Um, so as a person, I suppose, what sort of advice would you give to maybe a younger person starting off in life?
Don't worry about it. Things are going to be okay. Don't fucking worry about it. That's it. That's it. That's the best advice I can give anybody. Don't sweat the small stuff. Things are going to be okay. Have people around you that you love. The rest, the rest is all fluff. It's as simple as that.
Deadly.
Sorry,
Uh,
sorry. It's not entrepreneurial, Evan, but that's. Don't sweat the small stuff. Things are going to work out.
no,
Just keep
I
on
love it.
focusing on yourself.
I
That's
love it.
it.
You know what I've gone on a rabbit hole the last couple of weeks and months, and I'm getting out of it now. But it's looking at the news too much and looking at what's going on globally, and even like with I've been looking at like the American election with Trump and stuff, and the world's going to end and World War III, and it was funny. I was watching that, and then I looked on something on YouTube, and it was from 2007, and it was with Obama when he was getting elected, and he was saying the exact same things. If I don't get elected, it's going to be World War III, and the world's going to end. And I kind of realized, like, what's going to happen is going to happen, and it's just it's not good for the head looking at all that type of stuff, is it?
No, it's not, and do you know what? It's not, but it's important to be awake as well. And you
Yeah,
know what? I have left leniencies, I've right leniencies, and I'm kind of centrist, which is almost frowned upon. You have to be one or the
yeah,
other, as opposed to more common sense people. And 99.9% of people I speak to would have the same views as me. But
hmm,
online, it seems like you're either this or you're that.
yeah.
Um, I don't know, Evan. You know, I'm a chef. I cook for a living, and I enjoy myself. We're not going to solve the world's problems here, but what I do know is people are going to make money, and they'll make it whichever way they can, and that's including weapons. So, right, getting very. Don't,
we
don't,
bet we
don't,
best
don't,
end
don't,
this.
don't talk about what they're putting in the skies, my man. Don't talk
No.
about that.
Here, I don't want to get blocked from Instagram or TikTok or whatever. So because those guys are watching us. So we will leave it there. But it was an absolute pleasure to chat to you, and thanks for taking the time.
You too, and just a shout out to all the Leaving Cert students today. My daughter got her results today, and she's absolutely delighted. I never heard more joy in her voice today. So I'm a proud dad at the moment. And you know what? We myself and her partner, or my ex-partner, we split up about 10 years ago, and she was in Dublin, and I just a shout out to her. Not that I don't think she'd be watching, but her mom did amazing justice, and I think shout out to all the single mothers out there that have done amazing work with their kids. But I'm absolutely a beam in that today.
Deadly.
Anyways,
Well, fair play to her, and congrats to you, Chad. Thanks a million.
Evan, you're a
Pleasure.
gentleman, and keep on flying the flag and keep it real.
Thanks, man.
Be good. Cheers,
Chat
brother.
to you soon.